So MAGA is going out of their way to cook up every conspiracy theory they can to paint the Minnesota assassin Vance Boelter as a liberal. But folks, we're going to be taking a look at some clips here today, and you can be the judge of it for yourself. This is not his next door neighbor talking. This is him up preaching to a congregation, to an audience full of people, and the rhetoric coming out of his mouth sounds a whole lot like he's just quoting Donald Trump's Truth Social post. So we're going to be talking about this. We're going to be talking about how that this is not about politics. This is not about Republican versus Democrat, because reasonable Republicans and reasonable Democrats will call out political violence at all costs. This is about the MAGA cult and how dangerous they truly are. If they were any other group of people, folks, in this world, they will be labeled a terrorist organization. They absolutely would. If they were Muslims carrying out acts against Christians, if they were black people, they would already be labeled terrorists. But because they're white and because they claim to be Christians, and I say claim to be because I don't think they are, because they claim to be Christians, then they somehow get a pass, and we're all supposed to sit back and not call it for what it is. But we're not going to do that anymore. We're just going to call it for exactly what it is. I'm going to play you this disturbing clip of Vance Boelter, and you tell me which side of the aisle you think he falls on. I mean, how many clips have I played for y'all of these MAGA pastors? Vance Boelter sounds like he's one of them. Take a look.
Just as excited about Jesus.
Et je suis juste excité
right
de
here,
Jésus.
right now.
Jusqu'à présent, même maintenant.
And when I get excited,
Et quand je suis excité,
I want to dance.
je veux danser.
And what Jesus did for me.
C'est que Jésus a fait pour moi.
Jesus is God.
Jésus est
Almighty
Dieu.
God.
C'est le Dieu
He
puissant.
saved my life.
Il a sauvé ma vie.
Woo! I'm excited about God.
Je suis excité.
So I have never met a liberal in my lifetime that talks that way or would get up on a stage and act that way. That doesn't happen, folks. That's not who we are. That's who MAGA is, and the dude clearly is mentally ill. You would have to be to carry out what he did and do what he did, but when you sit here and listen to him talk, it's reminiscent of the MAGA pastors clips that I have played here time and time again. And I'm going to play this clip of this dude here. Look how gleefully that these people are. I'm going to do this in comparison so you can see the kind of person Vance Boelter is. Then take a look at this MAGA pastor and tell me what's the difference.
What wonderful days these days are before the coming of the Lord. What wonderful days these days are before the coming of the Lord.
The dude is literally singing a song with glee about the end of the world. When they look around and see all the chaos happening, they're sitting there reading the book of Revelation and the Bible, and they're trying to make it all fit. And they want this all to come to a crashing end. Do you realize what a sick and disturbed viewpoint it is to want this world to come to a crashing end? You want to see all that pain and suffering, and you want to worship a being that will let all that pain and suffering happen on people just so that you can be right? And how are you actually going to be? I've always wondered that about these end-time doomsday people. How do you ever prove that you were right? If the world ends, you're not going to get to be the one to stand up on CNN and say, I'm the one that said the world was going to end. The world's going to be over. Everyone's going to be dead. The lights are going to go out for everyone. You're not going to get to celebrate. It's so ridiculous that these people sits back, and when they see what happens in the Middle East, they're watching that and they're gleeful about it. They're sitting there singing songs about it. It's truly deranged. And here is more footage of Vance Boelter. And tell me this doesn't just sound like the MAGA pastors. Tell me this doesn't just sound like a Donald Trump Truth Social post. Take a look.
There's no sin
Et il n'y a aucun péché
that God can't take care
que
of.
Dieu ne peut pas enlever.
Nothing.
Il n'y a rien.
There's people, especially in America,
Il y a des gens, particulièrement aux États-Unis,
they don't know what sex they are.
et
They
ils,
don't know how their sexual orientation. They're confused.
ils ne savent pas ce qu'ils sont exactement. Ils ont une confusion.
The enemy has gotten so far into their mind and their soul.
Et l'ennemi est entré dans le fond de leur pensée et de leur âme.
But this word
Mais cette parole
cuts deeper
va aux profondeurs
because it's living
parce qu'elle est
and
vivante
it's
et
active.
elle est agissante.
And God goes down there and pulls that out.
Elle peut entrer dans notre cœur et enlever tout ce qui est de mal.
And he sets every person free.
Et pouvoir
How many times have you heard someone from MAGA say they don't even know what gender they are? They don't even know what sex they are. They don't even know what a woman is. How many times have you saw a MAGA politician try to corner a Democrat and go, what is a woman? The dude is absolutely quoting right straight from them. And did you hear about him talking about the enemy and what's in the enemy's mind? Is that not reminiscent of the post we shared about Trump, where he was talking about how the Democrats are sick in the head? Folks, when you have the leader of the free world out there making those kind of posts, calling us the enemy from within, saying we should be rooted out like vermin, saying that we are sick in the head for our beliefs and that we're out to destroy everything, I'll say it till I turn blue. That type of rhetoric plays right into the hands and right into the ears of someone as disturbed as Vance Boelter or any of these other MAGA pastors who are out there just sitting back wanting to bring on the end of the world. It's truly disturbing. And I don't understand how that people can't see through this, and I don't understand why more reasonable people won't speak up and speak out against it. Right now, the Republicans have control of everything. They have the presidency, they have the Senate, they have the House, they have the Supreme Court. They've got it all. It's going to take some reasonable Republicans standing up, because every Democrat can stand up. We can all stand up. We can speak all day long. There's going to have to be some reasonable people on the right that's going to have to stand up and call this out and distance themselves from this if they want to have a party going forward. Because, folks, this type of rhetoric and this type of constant fanning of the flames is never going to end well. And I want to ask you something. When you really stop and think about MAGA and the things that they've done, go back to January 6th. Picture January 6th in your head. Okay, and I'm not trying to borrow from Matthew McConaughey in the movie Time to Kill right here, or maybe I am, but I want you to go back to that day, and I want you to picture everything you saw on January 6th. But let's say that instead of seeing white evangelical Christian folks, let's say that Donald Trump had won the 2020 election, and let's say that that was black people protesting on January 6th. How far do you think those black people would have made it on the steps of the Capitol till Donald Trump called in the guard? They love to blame it on Nancy Pelosi. It was her fault. But do you think for 1 second he would have sat there and let black people kick down the door if they were protesting him? Do you think that he would now? Go back and picture Kyle Rittenhouse. Picture him walking down that road, okay? Picture him with his assault rifle. He's got his little surgical gloves on and he's walking down the road. They're all like, oh, he's a vigilante. He just come there to help out that town. Ask yourself, how far would a black boy have got carrying that same weapon? How many steps would he have made before he would have been put down? If this was a Muslim organization carrying out political acts of violence against Christians and against Republicans, how far do you think they would get, and how quickly do you think that Donald Trump and everyone in MAGA would come out and call them a terrorist organization and declare war on them? But we just sit back and let MAGA run wild. We just sit back and let them continue to fan the flames. And then I'm the one that's hyperbolic when I point it out. I'm the one that's, oh, you're trying to stir up a bunch of shit. No, I'm trying to point out the obvious. These people and this kind of rhetoric is dangerous. Marjorie Taylor Greene out there sharing pictures of herself with assault weapons after a shooting like this. The kind of sickening jokes that we're seeing people make about it. And you think that doesn't just play right into the hands of the mentally ill and right into their ears? You're sadly mistaken. There are people out there who wants to be vigilantes. There are people out there who wants to be remembered. And there's people out there that sits back and watches Donald Trump give everyone a pass and everyone a pardon. And I guarantee you in Vance Boelter's mind, it was like, well, hey, I'm shooting Democrats. I'll get a pardon. I'll get a spot on Fox News. I'll get a podcast. Joe Rogan will have me on and talk to me. That's what people like him thinks. I remember back years ago during the 90s, during the 90s when all the school shootings really started to pick up the pace, I remember Waylon Jennings, the country singer, talking about how let's stop glorifying these people. Let's stop making movies about them because people wants to be famous. And now you got people out there who've got nothing better to do than go out and stir up a bunch of shit so they will be remembered. And they think they'll be a hero in Trump's world. It's time for, it starts with Trump. It starts up at the top. He has to change, and we all know he's not going to. And the people underneath him aren't going to because they're too afraid to rock the boat. So it's going to take reasonable people coming together and shouting the shit down. I don't care where you fall on the political spectrum. I don't care if you're a Republican. I don't care if you're a Democrat, progressive, conservative, atheist, Christian, gay, straight, black, white. We all have to come together and we have to shout down this lunacy for the lunacy that it is. and get back to having conversations and political disagreements. And when we disagree, we can shake hands and walk away. And when we walk away, we walk to the ballot box and we cast our vote to disagree with the person we just had the argument with. Not constantly fan the flames of violence. That's all we're saying. Stop fanning the flames. Stop playing into these mentally ill people's ears. It's never going to end well when you do. We have got a person, I started to say a toddler, but that would be an insult to toddlers. We have got an absolute toddler up there running the show who has no respect for human life or no respect for anything or anyone but his selfish self. We're going to have to be the ones. We can't sit around and wait for a hero to save us, okay? We can't sit around and wait for Clark Kent, Superman, Batman. They're not going to show up. We're going to have to show up. We're going to have to put in the work, and we're going to have to shout down this lunacy at all costs.